Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show for computers and technology. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and we have a great show planned for you today, where in the second part of the show, we will be doing computer and technology news, and we have a ton of technology stories that we would really like to, get to, and those include everything from an update to, of course, net neutrality to the idea of Google One. If you haven't heard of that, that's their new consumer storage, kind of option, and a lot of changes happening there. And then on top of that, the Supreme Court said that sports betting is legal. So if you thought that, the commercials were bad before, wait until the App Store and everything else that you touch is now swarmed with sports betting apps. So we're going to talk about all that and more coming up in the second part of the program. But in the first part of the show, we will be doing, we do have an interview with a company that we like very much, and that is Linksys, where we talk about their Velops, and it's all about mesh networking today. So a couple of things before we get into that, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything and anything having to do with today's show. So if you want to link to our guest website or any products that we talk about, any videos that we show, everything will be right there on our homepage. Also, be sure to check out the live video stream where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. And also be sure to check out the social media contest, which is brought to you by Logitech. So all that and more at computeramerica.com. And yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and jump right into this. So once again, we are going to bring on a rep from Linksys to talk about their Velops line of products. And we have Mr. Kannan here with us. And so why don't we just go ahead and bring him on. So Kannan, thank you for joining us here on Computer America. And how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the call.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So, I think a little bit of background would be a good place to start. Tell us about Linksys Velops, and tell us a bit about yourself. How did you find yourself working with it?
Linksys has over 30 years of innovation built in, right? Started in 1988 in Irvine, in Southern California, and it's 30 years in this year. I'm really proud to be part of the Linksys team. And when we looked at Velops, what we saw is the smart home is really changing from what it was earlier to what it is today. And we wanted to provide a best a Wi-Fi that just works great within the home. And that was the thing for foundation for Velops system.
No, and we're going to get into what mesh networking and just get why this is a good alternative to traditional Wi-Fi. So let's go ahead and get into the technology. Give us a quick overview for those of us who have not heard of mesh networking or mesh Wi-Fi. What is it compared to traditional Wi-Fi?
So mesh networking is a concept where multiple routers or multiple devices within the home sit together and talk as if it's one network, right? What it means is, if I take an analogy of, say, traditional networking can be compared to a speaker that sits at the center of your home and blasting music from the center of your home, so that if you're in your bedroom or if you're in your kitchen, you can just listen to the music that you want to. But it's a noise for the rest of the people, right? But you may not be able to hear the great music that you would really want in the far end of your home. But if you had your own personal headphones, you could listen to the music that you want at any point in time. And that same concept, if applied to Wi-Fi, the traditional routers can be compared to these big speakers sitting at the center of the home. And this Wi-Fi, mesh Wi-Fi, is like you have mini speakers or headphones that is very personal to you inside that particular room. So it's a router for yourself, for each device.
That is, and that sounds like a dream come true. We have, over the course of 27 years, to toot our own horn, Computer America has interviewed a lot of routers and Wi-Fi companies along the way. And for a while there, they were pushing the idea, and I'm sure that Linksys was too, and Belkin was too, the idea that if you don't have that connectivity, maybe in the farther reaches of your home, you buy something like a switch or a range extender or a repeater, whatever people want to call it. And I guess my question is, why is the idea of mesh networking coming about now when it seems to be, kind of the promise of extenders, repeaters, or what have you, but like this technology seems to really work really, really well. Like is this just a repeater again, or is this something that's actually a replacement for all those technologies?
If I take a step back and look at that particular question, right?
Sure.
Repeaters have been used for a long period of time, right?
Right.
Go ahead, please.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So repeaters have been used for a while. Go ahead.
Very long time. I mean, it started in 2010, maybe when all these smartphones and smart devices started using Wi-Fi. But there are some challenges that goes with it, right? In Wi-Fi, we call it the concept of till death do apart. So a client device normally stays connected with the first thing that it connects to. So if it connects to the router, it stays connected with the router until such time the connection breaks, right? So imagine you're doing a FaceTime, or imagine you're doing a video call and you walk around your home. What happens is the phone will stay connected to your router wherever you are, and suddenly you will see the quality of the video deteriorating or the connection just breaking, and then you got to restart the whole call. Mm-hmm. With repeaters, what happened is, okay, we can clear the dead spot, but it had to have its own Wi-Fi name and password, right? So it had to have its own separate Wi-Fi name, because in order to avoid the till death do apart scenario, you need to have a different Wi-Fi name for the repeater's Wi-Fi. That means you will have to manually go into your Wi-Fi selector and select, okay, now connect to my extended network, now connect to my main network, which is not a great experience either. You want the device to kind of move magically between the router and the range extender. And that's the concept that comes with mesh. What it does is it creates one big network. Think like multiple nodes work as a system to provide you a great Wi-Fi. So you can walk from one place, one part of your home to another part of your home, be it your backyard watching movies, or be it your front yard, or even the smart devices today, right? Like smart doorbell cameras, smart cameras in different parts of your home, smart speakers. They all need some kind of a Wi-Fi that's close. And with mesh system, what happens is each of these devices will feel as if it has its own router close to it. So it doesn't have to repeat itself several times. And that's the beauty of the mesh system.
And we actually have a question in the chat room, and I think you answered it there, but traditionally with routers, the signal deteriorates very, very fast when going through certain kinds of material, either thick concrete walls or through different floors of a house. Could mesh networking be used to maybe not travel through these materials, but to kind of give you that seamless experience from one floor to the next, or things like that?
Yeah, so Wi-Fi is a way, right? So the physics of it says that, hey, if there are some kind of building materials, it cannot transfer. But what happens with the mesh Wi-Fi system is there is another node, if I can call it that way, that sits much closer to the first node. Therefore, they both can talk and reach to each other, whereas the client devices do not. So traditionally what happens, which people quite miss, is that it's not just because the router cannot reach the client device. The router may be able to reach the client device, and it might be able to, the client device may be able to hear a router talking to it, but the client devices do not have strong Wi-Fi that the routers may have. Therefore, it is not able to reach that far, right? So it is not able to shout at the top of the voice and say, I'm here, give me a signal.
Right.
It can't do that. And that's what the node does is there are multiple nodes that sit close to these client devices, and they provide a solid backbone between themselves to provide that one unified network. And that's how the Wi-Fi interferences reduces across the network. That's how all these devices, you will be able to stream HD quality video in your TV. You can get uninterrupted streaming to your doorbell cameras, because these devices, when they shout loud, they can reach the nearest node, and therefore it feels like, hey, I'm talking to a router that's very close by.
Right. Let's talk about setting up these things, because I know that there's some apprehension when people switch from one router to the next. Over the years, it's gotten a lot better. We've installed a lot of different routers, and the experience for setting up one router has gotten pretty good. I don't know what you guys are doing over there, but it's pretty seamless. But the idea of setting up 2, maybe even 3 routers might scare some people. So let's go over the installation process of installing something like the Velops system.
So that's a good question. Right? I mean, we built Velop on 3 core foundations. The first core foundation is the performance of the product itself, which is what we talked about earlier, right, in terms of providing the best Wi-Fi anywhere in your home. The second part of it was ease of use. What we thought about, how can we make the setup very easy, right? Not just set up, even when you have to change your SSID name and password, at say when something needs to be changed, your kids give your network name and password to your neighbor, then you want to change it, right? So in those scenarios, how do we make it easy for a consumer? So if I were to put it at a very high level, you plug in your first node to your cable modem or your gateway, set it up as a regular router, which takes about 5 to 6 minutes. And then once you plug in the second node or the third node and so on and so forth, you just have to press one button on your cell phone to say, add this node to my network. And that was built with keeping security in mind, right? So if you were to look, you don't want to have your neighbor's node come into your network. So what we want the consumer to make sure is say that, hey, I'm connecting the node that's in front of me to my network. You just press one button, and what the parent node would do is it will say, hey, I got your credentials. Here is your secure key. Now let me give you all the credentials, and push all the networking name, passwords, everything to the second node, and so on and so forth. Second node, third node, etc. While doing all of this, in order to maintain the performance, it also does a lot of check to say, am I in the right location, right? Am I best placed? Do I have a good speed between each of my node connection? Do I have a good signal strength? It does all of those assessments and guides you through the right set of process for setting up. So the second node might take around 5 to 6 minutes as well. So each node, 5 to 6 minutes, it should be done.
Okay. So it's so obviously we have moved beyond taking a laptop from room to room and setting these up. You can now do it with your smartphone, and it's very intuitive. So it knows its surroundings. It's not just kind of sitting there, making sure it's connected to the internet, but it will actually give you feedback to let you know that, hey, maybe I could be in a better spot.
Correct. Yes.
Very, very cool. I definitely like that. And through your website, we're seeing that there's the one, you could buy just one, you could buy up to 3 at a time. How many nodes are you allowed to have on one network?
Velop is a very flexible system, right? I mean, depending on your home, if the home is wired, you can add as many number of nodes you want to the network. It's a very flexible system. Depending on your home, depending on where your Wi-Fi comes in, you can plug in any node out there, and it can act as a router, the main parent node or main router node, and then it can connect all other nodes together to form that one system, right? And an average home would be good with 2 or 3, depending on the materials that it's built with, right? If you have a multi-storied home of 3 floors, you can have 1 in each floor, and that should be good to cover each of those locations, right? Each of those floors in your home. And a lot of it also depends on the number of devices you have, the type of internet connection coming into your home, right? Some people might have a basic connection, say up to 100 megabits per second. Mm-hmm. So a dual band node would be ideal for that particular home, with all the devices that connected. But if you have a tri-band node, you could have, say, a premium internet connection up to 300 megabits can easily cut up to the far end of your home. So it depends on the internet speed of your home, depends on your shape and size of your home. Like we call it, right? Every home is like a fingerprint of its own. It has its own home print. The materials that go into it, the way furnitures are kept, and so on and so forth. So it's such a flexible system that it can be, you can use any combination of dual band and tri-band nodes to cover your home with awesome Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and very, very, very well said, because that's a big part of it. It's hard to just say that, if you have maybe a 1,500 square foot home, you need one. If you have 2,000, you may need two. You're right. There's a lot that goes into it, but hey, I mean, really, it's pretty easy to tell that, hey, I'm not getting very good signal when I don't know, watch Netflix back in my bedroom. So it'd be pretty easy to understand that, hey, maybe I should get another node and put it near the bedroom. Little things like that.
Correct.
Yeah. So, again, looking through the website, we see here that there are white and black ones. Is that strictly a style choice between these different devices? I saw that some of them were labeled like 80, like AC 43, 6600. Within Velops, are there differences in the nodes, or is it all just one node, or just one type of device?
So there are two types of nodes that we have. One is a dual band node, and it's a tri-band node, right? And in tri-band node and dual band node, we do have the white and black color, because not every home needs white, and people would want to have their choice of design, right? The third pillar of our product was design was a key element. So we wanted to provide the choice for consumer to choose between white or black, right? And there are only two types of nodes that we have, which is the tri-band node, which is the one we launched last year, and then the dual band node, which we should be available in the market starting May 15th. It was launched this year in May.
Very, very cool. And just for anyone out there, the difference between dual band, tri-band, I mean, obviously that gives you one more essentially lane for traffic to kind of flow through. Who should be interested in a tri-band instead of a dual band?
So I would say anybody who has a large home, a ranch-style home, not a multi-storied homes with premium internet services and a lot of smart devices connected to their home, a lot of like Apple TVs or Ring doorbell cameras or any kind of IP cameras built in, and multiple smart TVs in the home, and want to get that premium Wi-Fi to the far end of the home, would choose a tri-band node. Right, but if somebody has a basic internet service, maybe up to 100 megabits per second, and a smaller single-family home or multi-storied homes with just basic internet, can go with a dual-band node. But one of the beauty of the system that we have is the dual-band node and the tri-band node interoperate with each other. So because as I mentioned earlier, not every home is the same. Each home has its own home print, like fingerprint. Right? You can choose a combination of nodes that is right for your home, right? Say, for example, if your Wi-Fi is coming into your basement where your Wi-Fi use is not that much, and your Wi-Fi use is most in your living room, etc., you can connect your dual band node in your basement to bring the Wi-Fi to your living room and place a tri-band node in the living room to get that best Wi-Fi coverage.
And, you're in this industry, at a much more fundamental level than I am. A lot of what we're talking about here, some of it is definitely going to make a difference immediately when people take it home and set it up. But part of what you're talking about, in some cases, things like the tri-band, things like, setting up maybe 3 nodes instead of 2 nodes. How much of, would you say, kind of the higher end of the router market, or, if you just want to talk about the Velop in particular, how much of this is kind of future-proofing? Because we know that the Internet of Things is only getting more and more severe. How much of this is future-proofing?
I would say the smart home is a mass market reality today, right? I think off the top of my head, there are around 27 million homes with smart speakers, right? Many of them are trying to add more smart devices into their homes. The internet pipe coming into your home has become a lot more bigger. My data tells me that around 65% of the homes for Comcast is like 100 megabits per second or more. All these things put together, right? It's already a smart world where we need this best Wi-Fi in every part of your home, right? If you're paying $60 or $70 for your internet, or even $100, you want to get that $100 in every corner of your home.
Right.
And to that extent, it's a mass market reality. And the second part of it is also Velops is pre-built with Bluetooth and Zigbee devices, which will be enabled at a later stage, so that as the smart home comes in, this could be that connecting gateway, if I can call it that way, for smart homes as well.
Right.
So it's a combination of future-proofing and as well as providing the best Wi-Fi today.
So let's talk about what kind of sets Velops apart from other mesh networking solutions, because we're seeing really most router manufacturers now have in some way let you kind of mesh network. But hey, it's going to be the features that kind of set you apart. Again, kind of poking through the website, we see some support here with Alexa. We see things like guest access and parental controls. Talk about some of the not just hardware but software improvements through this.
Yeah, so in case of Linksys Velops, right, it's just one app that consumers have to kind of use for setup of the product, to manage the network. You can go to the same app, say you want to turn on guest network, so you're in a dinner outside and your babysitter wants Wi-Fi connection. You want to share the guest network with them. It's a simple tap from your one app, which is the Linksys app. You can send it over. The ease of use was through that particular app. You did not need to have multiple interfaces. You don't want one app for parental controls. You don't want one app for managing administration. You don't want another app for doing basic connectivities or setup. So those are challenges which we felt is not right, and we want everybody to go through this one single app from a Wi-Fi networking perspective. So that is the first part of an app-based, simple to use feature. But more importantly, all mesh are not created equal, right? If I were to use an analogy, I would say better ingredients, better pizza, right? So it's that concept where there are a lot of elements of this mesh that's built into Linksys' intelligent mesh system that makes it a better mesh Wi-Fi, right? If I were to place one example in that is, let's say there are 3 bands in the tri-band system, and many of the systems they may use a dedicated backhaul for all these core connectivity, right? Which may not be an ideal for a home, because once you have all the nodes talking on one band, it can actually cause interference. If I take an analogy of it, it's like an airport, like an LAX airport having one single runway, right? So all planes have to land and take off in the runway. You can imagine the rush, imagine the lines that people have to go through before you can fly out of that airport.
Right.
But what we looked at and said is, hey, there are 3 bands. How can we maximize the use of all of these 3 bands for backhaul connectivity, for client connectivity, for everything else out there, right? So that you can make it a lot more free from a client device perspective to have the fastest path to internet, right? That's one aspect of it. The second one we thought about is, some devices, what they have is a dual band and a tri-band system, tri-band nodes within their own system. But only a tri-band node can be connected in as the master node, which again is not ideal, right? Like I gave an example earlier. Your internet might be coming into your attic or a basement where your Wi-Fi use is the least. You don't want to put your best system in that place. Rather, I would put a lower price system there, bring my Wi-Fi to the place where I use the most, and put the tri-band system in the location. The flexibility of moving these devices around based on your Wi-Fi footprint is another beauty of the system. And all this happens magically behind the scenes by the intelligent mesh network.
And it's a great point, and something that that I'm kind of used to because I enjoy low latency. It's a great thing when you can play video games, things like that, with minimal interruption. And one thing that I've been kind of curious about is the idea of direct connecting not through, maybe the main node that you have, but is there a way to direct connect to maybe, the other nodes set up around the house? And would you see any performance changes if you, as opposed to, maybe direct connecting directly to, again, the main one?
So when you say direct connect, are you meaning
wired.
to connect via wired or
wired.
wireless?
Wired.
Right.
Yeah.
So each node has two Ethernet ports, and they are auto self-sensing Ethernet ports, right? So if the first node, one of the ports is connected to the modem, it understands, hey, I'm my internet connection to the outside world. So I'm going to take the role of the WAN connection for you, right? And the rest of the nodes becomes the LAN connection. So you can connect the first node and second node over wired connection if you choose to, right? If your home is already pre-wired, you can just connect them wired. Therefore, what it does is it say, hey, I'm going to talk to this one using the wired connection. You can also connect client devices. Say you have an entertainment center and you have what's called a gaming device or a streaming device there. You can connect each of them to the node that is somewhere close to the entertainment center using the wired. So the two wires that is connected to that second node will act as a LAN to provide you the wired connectivity to the network, which actually further improves the Wi-Fi connection because now more devices are connected over wired. That means the Wi-Fi is freed up for other wireless devices to work on.
Perfect. So, and I apologize if I'm going to make you repeat yourself, but things like Google Home or Amazon Alexa or to a lesser extent Apple HomeKit, things like that. Smart speakers, do you have any kind of added functionality? Maybe be able to talk with them from multiple rooms using the Velops system? How do digital assistants fit into the whole system?
So, these multiple speakers, they talk because of their own ecosystem supports, right? But the Wi-Fi needed for these devices to connect with each other is what's provided by Velop today. But Velop also has works with Alexa feature and Google Home coming soon. For example, you can tell Alexa to say, hey, Alexa, ask Linksys to turn on the guest network, right? When your guest comes in, you want to turn on the guest network for them to connect to, right? It's more from a security side perspective. You don't want your guest to talk to the main network because you do not know what type of apps are running on their phone, what types of information sent out. You don't want to compromise your main network, right? Therefore, you might want the guest network. But we have made it a lot more convenient by you can just ask Alexa to turn on the guest network on your Velop, and consumers can connect to it. It provides you the password name and the guest network name for your guest when you ask to it. And so eventually, what we see is voice is going to be a way of interaction to get to know about your network because your network is going to be your virtual home, right? Today, we look at the camera to say, hey, did somebody try to break in? Did somebody come to my front door? Who took my packages and so on and so forth? Mm-hmm. Eventually, what's going to happen is people would want to know about their network. Did somebody try to hack into the network? What type of information is there a security threat to the network and so on and so forth? All that will be part of the voice feature at a later date. But that's how we think the home is going to change. It's just like you go and ask Alexa, hey, what's my news brief? At one point in time in history, I would see that it will say, hey, your network is secure, don't worry about it, and extra. So those are future features. But today as such, we do have features where you can turn on guest network, turn off guest network, extra.
That's very cool. And hey, I can't wait to see those. I'm sure that a lot of people would be interested because heck, who doesn't have some piece of Wi-Fi that they that they're dealing with. So we have like a minute left, so I'm going to go ahead and let you Kannan have the last kind of word here. If people want to find out more about Linksys Velop and how much is the system. I'm sorry. If people want to find out more about the system, where can they go, and how much is the system?
So you can go to Linksys.com or you can go to Amazon.com, Best Buy. You do get Velop out there. If you buy a 3-pack of the tri-band system, it's around $499, and you get a 2-pack at $349. And if you are looking for a much more a dual-band affordable version, you get $299 for a 3-pack as well.
All right. Yeah, and everyone, we have a link to that in the show notes. And I'm going to say that, Kannan, again, thank you for coming on the show. And we're going to have to say goodbye. But thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Hey, thanks for having me. And it was really fun on my side as well. And good luck.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Everyone, we'll be right back.
Okay, bye.
Computer America, right after this.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. 800-215-4461. That's 800-215-4461.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And yeah, we are, of course, talking, or at least we just wrapped up talking with our guest today, who was Linksys. They are, of course, a great manufacturer of all things network gear, technology, things like that. And yeah, we were talking to their product manager for their Velops line. And hey, it was all about mesh networking. So of course, you can go back and listen to that in the podcast version of the show, because hey, you can only listen to the live version through IRN, but at the same time, the podcast version is simply the show in its entirety, repeated wherever podcasts are heard. So let's go ahead and get into computer and technology news. And we have a couple of stories that I really wanted to get to, because, well, timeliness, and also, hey, they're pretty interesting. So why don't we go ahead and get started with computer and technology news, and that is brought to you by OWC. So here we go. All right, so for our first one let's start out light, and then we'll get into the heavier stuff. But let's start with, you may have heard of a company called Levi's. They make jeans and jackets and other, pieces of tech, or they make other pieces of, or articles of clothing. But Levi's is one of those things that I think we've had them on, or we've talked about them a couple of times, because they're not afraid to work technology into it. So this is an article from TechCrunch, and just to, give you the idea, Levi's has added a smart jacket. Yes, a connected jacket. So 2 years ago, Google showed off its connected jean jacket designed for bike commuters who can't fiddle with their phones. And the jacket launched this past fall, and in partnership with Levi's, offering a way for wearers to control music, screen phone calls, and get directions with a tap or brush of the cuff. So yeah, obviously commuters who can't be or shouldn't be messing with their phone, because As you know, it's almost as bad as distracted driving, where if you're on a busy street, you don't need to be messing with your phone. But today Google is adding more functionality to this piece of smart clothing, including support for ride-sharing alerts, Bose's Aware Mode, and location saving. Check that out. So it's sort of odd to see this commuter jacket adding ride-sharing support, given that its primary use case so far was to interact with technology when you can't use your phone, i.e. riding a bike. But yes, ride-sharing support. So they said that Google wants to make the jacket more functional in general, even for those times you're not actively commuting. So to use the new feature, jacket owners connect Lyft and or Uber in the companion mobile app and assign the rideshare ability to snap tag on the cuff. So the update comes through the app then connects to Uber or Lyft, and that's how everything kind of works together. Then the jacket will then notify you when your ride is 3 minutes away, and again when it has arrived. So when users receive the notification, they can brush in from their jacket to hear more details about their ride. I don't know if I'm super excited about this. It's a bit of an interesting use case. Just being able to kind of brush your sleeve and, just kind of acknowledge the fact that you got the notification. They said that another new addition is support for Bose's Aware Mode, which picks up surrounding sounds and sends them to the user's ear through supported headphones. So obviously this would connect again through the smartphone app, and then I'm sure things like Apple's AirPods or any other Bluetooth headphones would then also be able to send you notifications, and you could control that through your jacket. And lastly, the jacket will support being able to drop a pin on the map to save a location, then see, share, or edit it from the app's activity screen. So the jacket continues to be a curious experiment with connected clothing, especially given that much of what the jacket can do can be accomplished with a smartwatch these days. And I think that's part of it. I wouldn't call smartwatches a resounding success by any rate, but the idea that you could do this through a jacket or other piece of clothing, or it may sound silly, but one day your socks, be able to, kind of scrunch your toes in your socks and it drops a pin where you are. Little things like that. They're possible, and Levi's is showing it, Google is showing it. What's currently possible, it's up to everyone else, including consumers, to say, that's a dumb idea. And people just need to really, give feedback on what they want smart clothing to do. Is it all about monitoring one's health? Is it all about conveniently controlling things through, subtle gestures? What is the role of a smart piece of clothing? And hey, maybe the answer is none of the above. We don't really need that. So, hey, we'll see what happens. But there you go, Levi's jean jacket that can control your smartphone in certain situations. Yeah, how about that? All right, so there's that article. Again, it was kind of weird, couldn't not do it. So let's go ahead and skip on over to some of the other ones. All right, this one also Google. I know that was Google and Levi's, but this is just Google. And most if not all of you, probably go through Google Drive. Google Drive is a great thing. Google gives it away for free to a certain extent, and it's a great way to share documents and improve workflows, things like that. It's a great value because hey, there's a lot of free stuff. But looks like they are changing it up a bit, where they smart jacket usually means fashionable. Hey, I won't lie. Levi's, for their credit, did make it look pretty smart. Technology aside, the jacket did look good. It's more of a question of, when I adjust the cuff and I accidentally order a pizza from Domino's, is that smart? Is that the kind of smart you want? It's that's the question of the jacket. But again, Google One, this is a new Google product that you need to work into your everyday lives because it's replacing essentially consumer storage plans. Google has had Google Drive, but now it's essentially Google One. And, so it's not actually Google Drive, but everything from Google Drive to your Gmail account to Google Photos to Google Docs to everything Google. Essentially, one-stop shop is Google One, and they're changing it. Now you can add a $3 a month plan. Again, this is for consumers. So $3 a month gets you 200 gigabytes of storage, which is great. Hey, not half bad. And then the next one above that, 2 terabytes, goes from, it used to be $20 a month, now it's $10 a month, and they're dropping the 1 terabyte plan altogether. So if you want to pay $3 a month, 200 gigs, hey, that's a decent chunk of space. And then $10 a month gets you 2 terabytes. So going forward, you'll also be able to share your storage quota with up to 5 family members. So if they want to connect their Google accounts, their Google Drive, Google Doc, what have you, connect everything under one storage plan, you can now do that, again, with up to 5 family members. So again, consumer, not business. This could probably save some, very, very small businesses some hassle. It seems very easy to set up and very affordable, but yeah. And let's see. So they said that by itself, would be interesting, but of course, more and more people are doing more and more intensive things. Let's face it, 4K video, high resolution photos, and just larger documents, things like that. You can fill up 100 gigs pretty easily. So being able to upgrade to some of these, including again 200 gigs for just $3 a month. Hey, I think Google, and because a lot of people are already integrated into Google's ecosystem, this is going to be a real winner for people out there who need the extra space. But again, every Google account out there has access to 15 gigs of free data. If you have never paid Google a penny, that will not change. If you are okay with 15 gigs, you will retain that. They're not changing that whatsoever. So let's see, they said that it's not an immediate change. Over the course of the next few months, Google will upgrade all existing storage plans to Google One accounts, starting in the US, with a global rollout following shortly thereafter. And yeah, and there you go. So, hey, Google One, again, just another Google service to work into your language. And if you're looking for an easy way to share documents, honestly, I can't recommend Google Drive enough. It's been, you wouldn't think it would be that big of a problem to send someone, I don't know, let's say a 7 gig movie, like a 7 gigabyte movie that you shot on your phone. You wouldn't think it'd be that difficult, but emails won't let you email it. You can't really compress it because compressing services are difficult and confusing. And yeah, Google Drive seems to be one of the best ways that you could do something like that. And I really like using it for that purpose. So, hey, they know they have a winner on their hands. All right, let's go ahead and switch this up to, I think, a Supreme Court ruling that, while not immediately a technology story, they said that, let's see, I may have to clean out my Google whatever out soon. After 14 years, he's up to 80% usage. And that is Melter Snow in the chat room, but I'm the same way, where I've been using Google, my Gmail account for, I think I got that thing in 7th grade, and that was a while ago. Like, that may have also been 14 years ago. And I have been using that thing continuously. Luckily, I'm pretty good about cleaning, doing spring cleaning, and I'm only up to about 25%. But I have noticed within the past year alone, I have went from, in some cases 2 to 5% is what I usually hover at. And just because file sizes are getting bigger and, things are looking better, I've gone from 2 to 5% up to about 25%, and it's only going up faster. So, 15 gigs was a lot 3 to 4 years ago. It's becoming okay now, and I can only imagine in 3 to 4 years, if they don't raise that 15 gigabytes, they're going to have a lot of people buying into, buying into their plan, even for a couple dollars a month. So there you have it. Anywho, Supreme Court, they dictate whether things are legal. Courts, they're great things. Now, you may remember, or you may know that if you watch television, you see, what was it called? DraftKings and FanDuel. They were two very popular services that let people make bets on sporting events. And they were hosted in certain parts of the country. They allowed people to bet, in-game currency that they could then swap out for real currency. Essentially, it was gambling through a smartphone app, and it was legal, kind of, sort of, maybe, but at the same time, it was not really. So they went through to the Supreme Court, and they said that the chief executive, Matt King, being given a potential $1 billion windfall by the Supreme Court decision to allow sports betting, would head to the cashier's cage. So in a 6-3 decision, that's right, 6-3, so no chance it was even close. They said that Supreme Court justices struck down a federal law that had banned gambling on sporting events in most states. And the implications for this state tax revenue and around arguments for making significant changes to the way college athletes are compensated are huge. But the clear winners of this ruling are the online betting companies or any media company that has any sort of exposure live streaming sporting events. So while I don't personally bet on sports, I don't have anything to say about whether betting is good or not. I will say that we have had betting companies here on the show, not just for professional sports, but for things like esports. I've heard a lot of friends say that it makes games more interesting because, hey, you have money riding on it. Even if it's something like $20, hey, that's $20 that you could turn into X amount of money. And yeah, it's something that now that the Supreme Court ruling has, been ruled, there's going to be a lot more apps. This is why I kind of bring it to everyone here, at Computer America, is not that, hey, you can now bet and it's legal, hurrah. It's more to the fact that you're going to see a lot more apps out there that are going to try to get you to put money into their app so that they can then pay you money if you happen to win. So they said that mainly the current court was concerned with whether the law represented an instance of commandeering by federal government. At the heart of the case was New Jersey's voters' decision to legalize sport betting in the state in 2011 as revenues from Atlantic City casinos declined. And so the ruling may have implications for another industry that has been trying to get a more secure legal footing. And indeed, they published the New York Post published an op-ed at the end of last year arguing in favor of letting states decide both the legality of both gambling and marijuana nationwide. Essentially, be on the lookout for these things. They're legal on the federal level now, so it's going to be up to the states as to how much they're going to be taxed, how much you can actually spend, things like that. But the floodgates are open. That's the main point. The floodgates are open. So, all right, so there's that one. Like 10 more minutes left. All right. This one can make your blood boil. Maybe. And I know that talking about prisoners and jails, they're not the most sympathetic group of people that you could talk about. But at the same time, they're people. They're people in a place that's meant to rehabilitate and make them better citizens of a society. Or at least that's the goal. And normally on a technology show, we are all for the increase of technology in certain situations, but not when it replaces something as humanizing as a visit face to face with another person. And this coming to us from Ars Technica, saying that jails are replacing visits with video calls, and inmates and families hate it. So, it's not like, hey, we're putting a video call kiosk in every room and people will be able to talk with their loved ones whenever they happen to get whenever they want. But instead, they are essentially little payphones with a camera with a very grainy and jerky, that is according to the article, those were the adjectives used to describe the call quality, periodically freezing up altogether. And they said that the software required the face to stay in the center of the frame, and that if the face left the frame, the video went dark. This is apparently a measure to prevent callers from, flashing any kind of body parts. And so Harker told the reporter that the quality of the on-site calls is better than remote calls, but whether people make the remote video calls or use on-site video visitation system, they said that there is no substitute for face-to-face call. And yeah, I'm not going to get too far into this. This is a great article. There's a link to it in the show notes. You should definitely check it out. But jails are looking for a way to, obviously this would, kind of cut costs, because you put in a number of these kiosks. Not only do the kiosks kind of pay for themselves because, hey, you have to pay to use them, but you also don't have to worry about security or any kind of contraband or anything like that. Because, hey, it's just a video call. You don't have to worry about anyone's physical well-being. So they said that the technology should be used only as a supplement to existing in-person visitations. And yeah, this is hopefully this is something that we see, again, only kind of used in combination with people being able to visit, as opposed to a replacement entirely. Because anyone out there knows that while a video call is pretty darn good, it's not in any way a replacement for actually being face-to-face with someone and talking with them in person. Because there's a lot that you can pick up from a person that, that you can't with a video call. So hopefully jails do not continue this particular practice. But again, prisoners, not the most sympathetic of communities. All right, we're gonna do this one. I think this might be the last one, but we'll see. And this one, very, very cool. Anyone out there that knows, who knows anyone who has been the victim of a stroke, it's a very debilitating event to happen to someone. And man, don't you wish that you could just kind of make everything click back together? Well, this technology company may just be able to do that through an implanted device. And this coming to us from Engadget, Miss Kay Philippidis, hopefully I said that right, saying that brain pacemaker, that's right, a pacemaker for your brain, could help stroke patients recover quicker. Pretty darn cool. And they said it's a tiny piece of tech with a powerful potential. So, saying that vagus nerve stimulation, or VNS, may play a beneficial role in the motor recovery of stroke patients. And they said that as part of the therapy, stroke rehab specialists surgically implanted a microtransponder Vivistim. There we go. An electrical device that stimulates the vagus nerve into the patient's chest wall. And it works via a wireless transmitter, which picks up signals, redirects them to the nerve, and stimulates the brain whenever a therapist pushes a button. All right, so if you want to wire up a stroke victim, there you go. And the device assists patients by strengthening motor connections when they perform an action correctly. Essentially, it's rewiring brain circuitry, a phenomena also referred to as neuroplasticity. This means that the release of new neurotransmitters from the brain could help a patient who has lost mobility in their arms or legs to slowly regain control. Researchers hope that the additional layer of activation will prompt the brain to remember the associated motion, improving the recovery process. Because really, again, stroke patient, it's like they have to learn to do everything that they forgot all over again. And yeah, just having that little bit of a jolt that says you did this correctly. Here's some kind of reinforcement for that. Let's see how well it worked. So an earlier study showed that the paired vagus nerve stimulation helped about 85% of patients who received it. And according to Dr. Marcy Brockretter, a physiatrist at the Wexner Medical Center, saying it's like turning on a switch. She likens the device to a brain pacemaker that makes a stroke patient's brain more responsive, and suggests that if it's used in combination with regular rehabilitation practices, it could potentially speed things up, especially in patients who are facing more severe stroke-related impairments. So, while the surgery seems to impart little discomfort, it's fairly non-invasive, and it is described as a pretty intensive therapy program. And yeah, they said especially during the initial 6 weeks. So the trials are ongoing, and they are seeking participants. So pretty darn cool. A little piece of technology that, again, you implant into the chest. You essentially wire it to one of the nerves leaving the brain, and hey, it's able to help strengthen those signals as a stroke patient tries to reform them. It helps kind of strengthen them. Very, very cool. And hey, pretty happy to see it. Good when technology does good things. All right. So we have like 2 minutes left. Some of the stories that we probably won't be able to get to today include, check this one out, a California teen who phished his teacher's passwords. So phishing is a form of hacking. It's a form of social engineering, and he changed his grades. Said that, now he's facing 14 felony counts because he was arrested last week, and he phished his teacher's passwords and accessed the school district's computer system and changed a number, not just his own, but a number of student grades. So there's that story. We're not going to be able to get to the entirety of it, but let's see. There's that one. TiVo, in their next update, will be adding Amazon Alexa support to select DVRs. So I'm sure some of the more recent DVRs with internet connectivity, and if you have an Alexa account, they will be able to communicate with Alexa devices. So look forward to that. A story that I have to look more into, I am a little on edge about it, is the idea that the US and Chinese presidents, so US president and China's president, both want to work together to get ZTE, which is a Chinese company, back into business, providing jobs and providing technology to the world. So that ties into a whole article, op-ed I wrote about 2 months ago, and I got to dig into that one because that sounds a little fishy. So there's that story, and then there's, and then there is Facebook. That's, yeah. All right. Well, there's two. Net neutrality. We'll have a vote here on the 16th. So in 2 days, there will be a new vote on the net neutrality, whether or not to overrule them or keep them. And that is going to happen in the Senate. We'll see what happens. We'll keep you up to date on that. But the last one is, of course, Facebook data on 3 million users reportedly exposed through a personality profile. And that's even further. So, folks, we're about done here for Computer America. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. And hey, we hope that you enjoyed today. And special thanks to our guest, of course, Velops, or Linksys Velops, for talking about their mesh networking. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. And be sure to catch us tomorrow, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, when we have on the program Quantum Viz. There we go, Quantum Viz. And we are going to be talking all about, well, virtual reality. It'll be a lot of fun. And be sure to catch us here, same time, same place. So until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. And yeah, have a good one. Bye, everyone.